I've always been curious about this, and I ask people in the mental health field a lot, therapists and everyone, why isn't that standardization's there? Because to me, it seems like, and this is more of a personal question that I have, it seems like it's more focused on modalities rather than what's the best outcome, like what's the best outcome, and I don't really see that. And so from your perspective, I'm sure you have such a unique perspective. Why is that the case? Because I went to doctors that tried to go into childhood trauma. I went to a doctor that tried to, I don't know, let me have, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, like a whole bunch of random stuff. And it was just like, if somebody would just explain this from the very beginning. So I wanted
Yeah.
to know your thoughts on that.
I don't know. I say the same thing. And
My request was, oh,
ah,
there
yes.
we are. Hey, you got it. See, it's good. How are you doing, Michelle?
Oh, good. Hi. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good to
Oh,
meet
this
you.
is awesome. Oh, good. Sorry about this.
Is this your first live?
Yeah, this is it. Hi, guys.
It's a lot of fun. It's great. I wish I could do more. But it's great to meet you.
You too. You too.
Are you? I think you're in New York, right?
I am.
That's.
I am.
I was
When
just
were you
there this
saying you were
weekend.
here?
I was literally just there
Oh.
this weekend. I'm here in Austin, Texas.
Oh, you probably drove right past me. I'm about an hour north of New York City.
Oh, nice, nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. Michelle, I was just thinking we just have some fun, just talk about a few things, and then we can take some questions at the end. What do you
We're
think?
not talking about anxiety today,
No, we're
right?
just talking about ourselves. It's just like fun stuff, and that's
I'm kidding.
that's why everyone's here. It's just like Um, so, Michelle, you've been doing this for a while. It's pretty amazing. I would consider you as definitely like one of the pioneers
Oh,
in this space.
I don't think I'm a pioneer, but yeah, about 10 years I've been working with DARES. 12 years, sorry.
Yeah.
12 years. So.
And one of the things I didn't know that you briefly mentioned is that you went through it too. Um, and so I think you have a really unique experience, even more than I was expecting. Could you talk a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, sure. Everybody wants to know, like, if the therapist really went through it. And it's funny because when Barry hired me, he didn't know. He just was looking for like certain traits in a therapist, and like I felt kind of down to earth. I use a sense of humor. And then he found out later when somebody else asked me, well, you didn't ask, so. But yeah, so for me, plain old boring kid, like no trauma, no problems. Okay, so I was one of those people that it kind of just came up out of the blue. Um, like they're always long stories, right? The very first time, but like high school, went out with a group of people, a group of friends. We went to get dinner, and you only have 20 bucks when you're 17 years old. So we went to Chinese buffet and we ate all this food and drank all the soda, went to the movies. Now I live in New York. It's cold here in the winter. And so we went to the movies, and you know when it's like really stuffy and hot inside and the air quality is just awful.
Yeah.
So we go to see Pulp Fiction in the movies, and everybody knows how old I am. So it's hot, and I'm all the way in next to the wall, right? And my friend sits next to me, and we have all our heavy coats on, and the movie theater's packed. And now I'm stuffed from eating so much food. And I'm sitting there, and it was like hard to breathe, and it starts to get hot. I start to feel sick. I'm like, I feel like I need to get out of here. And now I'm thinking, oh my God, what if I like get sick here and I can't get out and all my friends are here? And I was basically having a panic attack. I had no idea. And I knew I just needed to get the hell out of there. So I left and I went outside and I was freaking out. And then I just thought I was sick, It's confusing when it first happens. Nobody knows what it is. So I remember trying to come back in the movie theater, and I opened the door, and it was like a wall hit me. It was very weird. I was like, what is going on? And then I stayed outside, and then I remember thinking, I just wanted to get home, where I was like safe, and my parents were there, and they could take care of me. And then I remember thinking, in order to get home, I'm going to have to get stuck in the car the same way I was stuck in the movie theater. And sure enough, I get thrown in the back seat of the car, and I'm like, oh, by the window. And then I was stuck in the classroom, stuck on the train, stuck being dropped off places, stuck in church. What if I got sick? I never cared about getting sick until I cared about getting sick. And then it was like, there must be something wrong with my stomach. Well, what's wrong with me? Better make sure I don't get sick. Better make sure I don't embarrass myself. Better make sure I have a ticket out of here quick. So that was kind of like how I got stuck. And I try and tell my story because a lot of people spend a lot of time in therapy for 40 years and what happened and dig deep and there must be something wrong. And if we go back and we can find that problem, we can fix it and your anxiety will be gone. And some people, it just doesn't work like that. I had no problem until I had a problem, and then I had a problem.
That's pretty amazing. Do you think, I have two questions about that. By the way, for everyone that's joining, if you guys like my stuff, you really need to take a look at Michelle's page and follow her, because she has some really great posts. So make sure if you guys are on here to follow her. Michelle, I had two questions. Do you think you going through this, is there a certain deeper level of understanding when you're helping people through this, rather than just coming from the conventional like therapy route where like, you know, you've experienced it rather than just reading about it in a book? How does that help in terms of like your you know, practice with helping your clients and patients?
Yeah, because and I just texted this little blurb to myself today. Do you do this? Text yourself good ideas so you can write about them later. Yeah. I did that right before the call today. I'm like, oh, I got to turn this into a post. And I tell this to people a lot because I try and like, we have groups in DARE, and we brought in one, we had like a DARE +1. So people brought in like a significant other to try and explain to other people what it feels like, because it's really hard to explain it unless you've really been through it. It's hard to get it, because I think people who have never experienced anxiety, they've experienced maybe danger, right? And they felt fear when they were in danger, but it makes sense, right? Like, oh, there was a bear eating me and I felt scared. So of course I was scared. There was a bear. When the bear was gone, I wasn't scared anymore. And then they get fear without danger, right? Like, oh, this movie was scary, but it's just a scary movie. Yeah. But with anxiety, it doesn't feel scary. It feels danger, you know? And like anybody on this call probably gets it, and anybody else doesn't really get it. Like, that's why logical, rational, going on, it doesn't work, because you're like, but I'm not going to die. I'm just going to throw up. They're just thoughts. It's just feeling. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And you're still freaking out. Logic doesn't matter. So I think my long-winded response to that is like knowing how that feels, feeling like I need to get out of here right now. Logically, I know I don't, but really my body is like telling me that you do. Like, I know how that feels. You know, I know on like that wave, well, for me, it was like this wave kind of like come over your head. I remember I would just lose my balance sitting in the chair. Like, what the hell? So yeah, I get it. And, you know, if you have a therapist who hasn't been through it, it's okay too. Just go to a therapist that does a similar type of approach of like this. And I saw on one of your Instagram live feeds a couple weeks ago, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy says exactly what I say. He's just saying it in a different way. And it's like, yeah, that's what I would love to see. Like, I don't care if it's just listen to Michelle, DARE has all the answers. It's like, I want to make sure everybody's getting the same message, no matter who you get it from. Like, if you hear it better with your voice, get it in your voice. But like, there's other people selling a whole lot of stuff to like get rid of it, feel better, instant relief, and it's not that. There's actually nothing wrong with you. That's the problem.
Yeah, I always say, like, because I always say, I'm like, look, I didn't create this. This wasn't like, I look at it as like a sufferer. I always say I'm like just a few steps ahead of everyone else, which is just like, look, I was there too. I tried all of it. It wasn't like, this isn't some like method that I chose to agree with. This was the only way out. This is the only way that I knew that worked for me. And so like, I tried everything else. And I guess this brings me to the second question I have. You know, like in healthcare, there's like this idea of standardization, where it's like, you know, practice where it's standardized, that's based on, you know, value and data driven. um, standard of care. Um, I've always been curious about this, and I ask people in the mental health field a lot, therapists and everyone, why isn't that standardization's there? Because to me, it seems like, and this is more of a personal question that I have, it seems like it's more focused on modalities rather than what's the best outcome, like what's the best outcome, and I don't really see that. And so from your perspective, I'm sure you have such a unique perspective. Why is that the case? Because I went to doctors that tried to go into childhood trauma. I went to a doctor that tried to, I don't know, let me have, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, like a whole bunch of random stuff. And it was just like, if somebody would just explain this from the very beginning. So I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
I don't know. I say the same thing. And people I've talked to, I posted like a couple months ago, I'm like, what's the worst backwards advice you've ever gotten? Whether it's from a family member, a friend, or a therapist. I've heard it all. Magnetic helmets, sitting upside down, postures, and like CBT, right? That's what you'll always hear, cognitive behavioral therapy. And I was telling Aida, the other therapist in Germany, the other day, I'm like, we're more like BCT, right? It's kind of like act therapy meets behavioral. It's more like cognitive behavioral therapy, but there's so much focus on take this thought, replace it with this thought, and if you take this and do these worksheets, you'll be fine. And you're not meant to live like that. People that don't have anxiety didn't like do their worksheets properly that day, and that's why they never got anxiety. They just live, So like my goal is always like you get to change how you treat how you feel. And I would love to see this taught in school as just like general health class, not you have a mental health disorder and this is very, because it feels, I'm not downplaying, it feels very serious. It feels, but it's approached as like this medical model, like there's something wrong and we need to get rid of it. And if you do this just right, it will be gone. And it works the total opposite way. And that's why the people that tend to get the most stuck are the best at doing things and are the best fighters and the smartest people and the just tell me what to do and I'll do it. That's because there's nothing to do. That's just why you're stuck. You'll never fight your way out of this. You'll never think your way out of this. You kind of like melt out of this, float like Claire Weeks, right? You kind of float out of this. And it's like a very foreign language to teach people how to do nothing.
Exactly, right? And I think like we come from like a society that's so focused on grinding and hustle. And if sorry, I got disconnected for a second. Can you see me?
Oh, I thought that was me. I'm like,
no, that was me. That was me. Yeah, but like I feel like we came from this, and I actually always took pride in that I could outwork people, and that I'm like the hardest worker I know, and it's a great skill set to have. What I tell my clients is it's like having a hammer, which is like hard work, and you're trying to use that for anxiety, and you're just gonna think everything's a nail.
Yep.
And you're just
I say the same thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I say like, well, it's like you're using a hammer as a screwdriver because I did this in Minecraft. The one day my kids try and teach me, I was trying to chop down the tree with a shovel. Right. I'm like, why is this so hard?
Exactly.
Like, you're using the wrong thing.
Exactly. And so like, even with the stuff we do at Bye Bye Panic, I still find us being very reactive, right? Once they come into the cycle, then they find us. Mm-hmm. And so we're even looking at like downstream down the line, figuring out a way where if people just understood, right, just through schooling, just a little bit, it could have stopped so much like unnecessary stuff.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think a lot of it is, I actually have a post of yours, and I thought it was very few posts like blow my mind a little bit, but you said something that was really great, which is you don't eliminate anxiety to eliminate an anxiety disorder. It's the attempt to eliminate anxiety that creates the disorder.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's weird, right? It's like Alice down the rabbit hole.
Well, I think a lot of it is just using the word anxiety doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
Like, I don't think there's like a word to explain what you and I went, like me being nervous before this live, we may use that word anxiety, and then, that anxiety that we experienced, it's the same word. And I think that has a lot of the confusion along with it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and I think that's where people get stuck because like we live in this sort of like time where it's even like I grew up well-meaning, right? But like, oh, don't be sad. Don't be scared. It's okay. Don't worry. And like it's subtle, but it sends this message like, be happy and everything's fine. Don't be scared. I'm like, I'm already freaking scared. Like, oh, don't be scared. Oh, okay, let's try not to be scared. And this is kind of where everybody really gets stuck, trying so hard. Like with dare, right? People are using it as like a verb. How do I dare through this?
yeah.
How do I dare through that? Like, don't dare through the thoughts.
Yeah.
Dare is for the fight of thoughts. Dare response, how you respond to thoughts. So you're saying one thing, I'm saying the same thing, just in different words. And that's why it's cool to talk to each other, because it's like, we're all saying the same thing. Like I would say, we are not reinventing the wheel. We are not like creating something new. We're teaching you how to use the wheel better, right? Like this is how to really use the wheel well, right? This is how to do exposure therapy,
Yeah.
right? With like this attitude, not get through the grocery store or drive 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. And then I drove 5 more minutes. Your alarm, I call it your alarm system. It knows this and it knows this. So if you're doing this, you're fighting for your life. Your body will keep cranking out energy until you send this message of this. That's the response you want to give it.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk a lot about eliminating safety crutches. And you know what we teach, we use like a similar acronym to you. I took it from somebody else too. But what we see is first they do it and then they actually find relief and then they use that as a crutch too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure they do the same thing with dare too, right? They're like, okay, that worked. Okay, I did it now. Oh, it's not working now. Oh, I'm not doing it hard enough. And then that becomes the crutch. Now the idea is like, so I always talk about it like in terms of principles. I always find techniques, a little bit more techniques are good in the beginning, but I actually find techniques are more for people like therapists that haven't gone through it or somebody that like, so it's more for them.
Because it's like coping. That's how you cope through it. It's more like dare, I keep saying dare, but like, it's more like an attitude.
Yeah, attitude.
Like if you put an attitude, it's like I can describe something, but if I'm doing something to get through it, I'm still treating it as danger. Mm-hmm. And it's more like feeling discomfort. Like we're not just afraid, we're afraid of being afraid. Like we have thoughts and feelings about our thoughts and feelings, and we kind of get stuck looping in here. And like what we try and teach, it's not like, okay, people get very stuck in the steps. We say, stop over daring it, right? Because do I accept and allow? And when do I run towards? And when do I'm like, God, you're not baking a cake, right? It's like a mindset of basically seeing something you are like, it's really uncomfortable. And your response is, oh, well. And if you see some of my other videos, I have a little bit of a potty mouth, so I won't say it on yours.
You can go for it. It's cool.
It's really like, oh, fucking well. That's the mindset, the attitude. Like, I don't have to like how I feel. But like when I always hear, like you said, it's working, it's not working. Well, this works, but this doesn't work. I always say, what do you mean by work? Because if your work is, do I feel better?
Exactly.
You're not doing it right. Right? Like, it's weird. Feeling better is not the goal. It's the byproduct of what you do. You accidentally feel better.
I always say, I always say like recovery is not an end goal. It's a consequence. Yeah. But people, they're so goal oriented when they're going through anxiety, right? Because I get it. It's very uncomfortable. But it's that goal orientation mindset that's the issue. It's not about achieving something. It's not like recovery is like this finish line that happens in the future. It's how you respond now.
Right. Every minute, like every day you are here and you might notice how you feel, and then you always get to choose how you treat how you feel. Yeah. How you respond to how you feel. And anxiety lives in the fight of how you feel.
Exactly. When I was going through, when I was getting out of this, when I was like, because I had hit a really low point, my recovery was starting. I was like, I was still like, it was still difficult, but it was such a huge relief looking back, where it was like, I don't need to fix this. Because I was so used to reacting and trying to run away that like for the first time, it's like, you know what? You actually don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. And that's how I would always go through in my head. What am I trying to do? Okay, if I'm doing, then it's a problem. And if I would overthink it, then I knew I was doing something wrong, because I knew I couldn't think my way out, because I tried that before. and it just
Right.
didn't work. And it was just like, no, just be, just let it be.
Mm-hmm.
That was my dad would say. You know, my dad, he doesn't understand this stuff. He can't even say fight or flight. He grew up in India and stuff, but like he understood what was happening. And he would always just tell me, he's like, let it be, just let it be.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a like relief almost. It was like, okay, I don't need to do anything.
Because it's such a foreign concept to so many of us, right? We're like, okay, hold on, let me get my pencil. How do I let it be? All right, I'm going to practice letting it be. What do? I'm going to post it. I'm going to put it everywhere. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to listen to this audio. Okay, I let it be for 17 minutes today. And it's like doing and being. Go do life while you be still with how you feel. And I always have this thing by my laptop, right? So this is like my jar of sand that's in some of my videos. And like, this is what everybody's trying to get to. So we're all shaken up. We can shake it up, but there's no active thing. Like, we can't actively settle this down. And this is what, like, anybody who gets stuck is like, okay, let's meditate. Okay, my vagus nerve. Okay, breathing. Okay, grounding. Is it gone yet? Is it settled yet? And everybody's doing this and like putting life on hold and just, okay, I'll let it be. Letting it be, letting it be, letting it be, let it be. Right? Like waiting. Like, leave it alone. Let it be. Leave it alone and put your attention here. Our attention with anxiety is always here, right? We're always here and here. Am I okay? How do I feel? The thoughts gone yet? Do I feel better yet? Can I do this? You know, and it's like learning how to leave yourself alone. All the doing is for life. Doing's for out here. Being is for all the stuff you find in here.
I think I'm gonna steal that idea. the sand. It's a brilliant idea.
We got a snow globe. I've got sand. I've got anything that requires nature to settle itself down.
Yeah. That's so great. That's so great, Michelle. I love those analogies. You know, it's like, when you go through it and you come out of it, the principles, like, you know it, right? It's knowing, but it's like, how do you, and I'm sure you do this too, like, you're always trying to find different ways of saying the same thing. And so hearing it from other people, it's so great. By the way, for everyone that's just hopping on right now, guys, you guys really do need to follow Michelle on Instagram. I don't really promote a lot of other people unless like they're really good. And Michelle's, I read it all the time. I read it and I was like, oh, that's so smart the way she said it. So you guys definitely need to follow her, especially if you guys follow my stuff. Michelle has a great way of sharing it. And I guess that kind of brings me to the next question, Michelle. Like, I feel like, when it comes to, like, with social media change a little bit, the space of kind of what we're talking about is also like sort of shifting. I'm personally finding people in my space naturally talk more about coping and managing. I feel like they have great intentions, but it's weird that we're in the same space. And the stuff that I talk about to a certain degree, like on YouTube and even Instagram and even you, I feel like we're kind of in the minority still. I think we focus on long-term a little bit more, but it's almost like social media prefers quick fixes and coping tricks. And so a lot of people naturally do that as a form of engagement. You've been in the space longer than me. I wanted to this is just a personal question, wanted to get your thoughts on that in general. And because I remember when I was struggling, everyone was just telling me, yo, just have you tried breathing techniques? Like, have you tried looking at clouds? And
try yoga, try meditate. Like, all those things are great. But again, like, if you're using them as weapons to get rid of, it's not going to work. If you're using them as tools to teach you how to let go of, but everybody's trying to meditate it away, right? Yoga it away. The point of meditation is learning how to just be still and notice your thoughts. The whole point of coming back to your breath is like, those thoughts are unimportant, right? But it's like that one little percentage is missing of like why you're using all these things. And even just like today, like technology and all this, I sound like an old bag, right? Like, today's kids. But like, everything is, I want it fast. I want it as comfortably as possible. And nobody wants Amazon. I want Amazon Prime, right? I want this thing that I didn't actually need, but I want it in 24 hours. And I'm going to sit I remember when I was a kid, you had to collect like 5 cereal box tops, right? And then you filled it out and then you sent it in, and then 6 to 8 weeks, right? 6 to 8 weeks. they would send you back like a pencil. I have a pencil with my Michelle George, right? My maiden name, from the Honey Nut Cheerios box that like you had no choice but to wait for things, you know? And like, we don't have to wait. We don't have to be uncomfortable. And that's like a subtle overall mindset of like, today, if I can't reach you by email, I'm going to text you, I'm going to find you on Instagram, and I'm just going to keep going until I get what I need, you know? And it's this idea of like, wow, now I feel shitty, right? And I better do something about it, right? And it's like, oh, well, this program will help me get rid of it in 2 weeks. This program will help me get rid of it in 3 days. I'm going to do this one, because we're constantly trying to fix, get rid of. And with anxiety, it's your alarm settles itself down. It's this thing. This is a self-regulating system. So if you're like, is it gone yet? Is it gone yet? We don't teach, like, you don't see patients being taught anymore, you know? Like, we binge watched Lost with my oldest daughter, and she's like, let's play the next one. I'm like, no, we'll play it tomorrow. She goes, I can't wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we used to have to wait a week. She goes, why would you do that? You had no choice. Like, we have choices now. We have a lot of choices to be comfortable. So like, it works backwards with this, because if we're constantly coping through something is, I want to feel good through this feeling bad, right? Or get rid of this, make it as for a short period of time as possible. And I think just that mindset towards things in general feeds into this whole idea of like, why isn't it gone yet? Why isn't it gone yet?
Exactly. And I personally feel like, being in this space, I feel like I'm pushing against the current, because I feel like the current is just, okay, this is just the way things are moving. Like, it's like instant gratification, quick fix, you know, become a customer for life.
Right.
And I'm pushing against that. But I see where social media is going. I even see it in terms of, you know, I have a tough time with like TikTok. I can't do it because it's just too short for me. And how do I explain something about anxiety? And that's what, yeah, long form works really well. I like YouTube because I can make a video an hour long if I need to, and I can really dive deep. But I have that tough time, and I see that with everything else from like, you know, I don't know what was a big thing when I was struggling with anxiety, but now I see like CBD oil and like all these different things as like these coping things. And I get like affiliate links by like these companies like every week. It's just insane, you know, like just kind of pushing through, and it's just a different mindset, focusing on long-term freedom, you know?
Right. Right. I get Facebook can't figure out if I'm a therapist or I'm in desperate need of therapy. And I get every targeted ad. And so now I open these ads to see what is everybody being sold. I'm like, oh my God, what is this thing? One of them is like a tube. It's
Yes,
just a tube.
like an inhaler.
It doesn't even have any. I'm like, what are they breathing? Oh, nothing. Nothing. Air that's on the other side of the tube.
That's
like
it. Yeah. It's wild.
So,
it's wild.
I'm like, that's not like, that's how you're going to like live life, right? Like stuck in a tube that goes nowhere. So like, and the goal is healing, not coping. So you can absolutely find lots of things to help you cope through and get through. But again, if you're doing this to get through things, and then when you're through the drive, you're through the presentation at work, and you go, that was you acting as if you needed to cope through something. You're treating that situation as danger, and that's just your alarm here to help. It's going to keep sending you energy as long as you keep asking for it. So this stuff that we do, it's not easy, but it's really simple. It's learning how to like literally do nothing. Just do nothing. And I spent 12 years teaching people that are really good at doing a lot of things how to do nothing. We suck at doing nothing, and we suck at letting time pass, right? Because why would we be? If I could work harder and faster, I'll get it done more quickly. So it's like learning how to be still while your body settles itself down. This is a passive process. Teaching people how to be passive is a very hard thing, because very active people get stuck in learning how to be passive.
100%. I couldn't agree more. You know, when we're guiding people, we teach them this. What we notice is there is secondary barriers in the recovery journey, and a lot of it is typically mindset related. And I get it, because I was the same. Because I remember I hit such a low point, I just never thought I was going to get out, or I didn't know if I was going to come out unscathed. I felt like this guilt. And so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of our recovery, like when we're guiding people, a lot of it is this stuff, but it's also dealing with the second order stuff. Um, how do you deal with that? Like, what's your experience with that? I'm sure you experience that too, because it's a lot of like negative self-talk that they have. They bring
Yep.
themselves down. It's very easy to look at the glass half empty. They have like state dependent memory, and like so all these things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I was curious about your thoughts.
Yeah, we just talked about that yesterday on our webinar. We had brought on one of the guests from one of the advanced groups, and he came up with this term collateral damage, and I loved it, and we use it all the time. He's like, whatever the event was, it was brief, whether it was a panic attack or a thought or whatever. He goes, but the collateral damage I did to myself afterwards, beating myself up. What is wrong with you? I call it shooting all over yourself, right? Should have done this. Comparisons, the yeah buts, the what ifs, I call it forevering, right? There's no term for this. I'm trying to make a term. You must hear this every day, right? I take a present state of heightened discomfort and treat it as if it's going to last forever, right? Everything is last forever. And it's like changing how you view all that and changing like how you treat yourself through this. And that was one thing, and I didn't realize it until after I started working with Dare, that I was okay with. Like, I was always kind of nice to myself. And I wasn't really taught that. I just maybe was. And I see, like just working with people for so long, the harder people are on themselves, the less they are able to absorb their progress. So they're doing all this great work. But if you're beating yourself up through it, like self-compassion and being kind and saying, great job, you'll never absorb like the fullness of what you do until you kind of like treat yourself a little nicer. And that's not an anxiety problem. That's a how you treat yourself problem. And you could change that like immediately.
Right, I know. And can I, to be fully transparent, as a coach, it's very hard for me to see that when people go through it. I actually get almost like frustrated. It's tough because it's like, yo, I know the way, you're going the way, but I almost feel like when they do that, in my mind, I see it as like, yo, you're sabotaging it yourself. Like, we're on the right track. You're doing this to yourself. And like, as a coach, it just becomes very like, sometimes I take it personally, but like I'll never say it out loud. Yeah, because
you know why? Because it's weird. It's weird. It's almost like a self-protecting mechanism. Because it's like, yeah, but it's better to just accept the fact that I'm disappointed and I'm not going anywhere, so I don't get my hopes up and then crash. And and it's like I saw that. Like I'll tell people, I'll say, listen to your words. Like you just gave me like. Yeah, but, right? If I tell you something great, like, say, we're going to do this, yeah, but, I'm like, watch your butts, right? And I hear, my favorite, easier said than done. I'm like, I know, that's why we're doing it.
That's why we're doing it, yeah.
That's why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
There was a time, I remember, I know exactly what they're going to because I think when I was struggling, there was a lot of things I tried, and I actually genuinely thought this was the way. I was like, this was the way. This is it. I know it. I'm so glad I found it. And then like a couple of days later, I'd be disappointed. And then I think what happened was once I really found the right way, the right tools, it's almost like the pain of being wrong again was greater than the possible reward of. And so I remember that. You're right. And so it is like this safety protective mechanism. And I personally feel, when people get out of this, I genuinely feel like they're a better version. I think there is certain things in I don't think, I always find there's times where I kept going where other people gave up because actually of what I'd gone through. Because I was like really good, I didn't like burn out and stuff like that. And I think all of that was taught through my anxiety. And it's weird. It's like, we always see people that recover or like get really good. At first they're like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get out. Okay, cool. Like Shaan did, this person did, but I don't know if it's gonna be me. And then once they do, the conclusion is, oh, I was able to get out. Everyone's able to get out.
Right, because everybody thinks like, hi, Michelle. I don't know if you've ever dealt with my kind of anxiety before, right? I'm a little different than everybody else because And then, you know, you get your story sold, like, I have a real medical problem, I have PTSD, NGAD with a touch of PRO, but I don't know if it's an OCD and a this, and will Dare help me? Or, well, like, have you ever worked with my kind of anxiety, right? Everybody, because it feels so different, because it's like this internal storm and everybody else out there with constant comparison, you know? And it's like, once, I have never once in all these years seen somebody and I was like, nope, this approach is not going to work for you. I mean, what thought are you, oh, that thought? Oh, you should probably try and get rid of that thought. Those other thoughts, I know, that one you should really fight as hard as possible. It just doesn't work like that. And the problem, the biggest problem is that there's no problem, right? We're desperately trying to get rid of things that are not to be gotten rid of. So it's the getting rid of that's the problem. And it's teaching you how to stop getting rid of, allow discomfort, you know? And if you can do this, you can do this, you know? And it takes kind of like a leap of faith. We have like these daily dares that we get, that people have on their app every day. And I wrote one of the scripts. I got this from, this woman wrote an article on psychcentral.net, something like that. And it was the opposite of anxiety. And I was searching around, I was trying to find, like, what am I going to see out there, again, in the land where everybody else is trying to get rid of and trying to calm down, right? I thought I'd find calm or fearless. You know what she wrote? She wrote this whole article and wrote, and then I found the opposite of anxiety is trust. And I thought that was so cool. It made me really stop. And as you see, it takes a lot to make me stop. But like, we lose trust in ourselves, trust in our bodies, trust in our brains. We don't trust that we're not just about to go crazy, or just about to die, or, you know, like, we lose all this trust that everything's going to be okay. And it was just really cool because people are desperately trying to calm down. Like, no, excited is the opposite of calm. You don't need to fight an excited state. You need to learn how to grow trust in yourself that it's okay to be in an excited state. So it was pretty cool. I love that article. So we
I love
wrote
that.
it.
I love that. Yeah, no, I feel like I have a special appreciation for those things, and so I'm really glad you share all these things. I'm even going to steal Collateral Damage, like you said. I wanted to mention to you about something my clients experience, I experience, depersonalization, derealization.
Mm-hmm.
I find, in particular, there's a, with those two things in particular, there is this natural willingness to separate it from anxiety. And I know there's elements where it is different. But at the same time with us, like when I'm working with a specific member, I lump it in. Unless it's something really out of the ordinary. I wanted to get your take on that because there are some people that, you know, anxiety versus trauma, you know, the same, different, you know, like how does that approach work? And I wanted to know just, you know, your experience because I know it's a little bit nuanced.
Yeah, well, DP and DR doesn't always, I know you hear this a lot, like it's all often linked to trauma because if you've been through some sort of trauma, there's a good chance your body has dropped the walls down to kind of protect yourself, right? To protect yourself from memories, usually memories, feelings, thoughts of memories, and to keep you on guard for should something happen again. But DPDR could happen from a bad trip, right? From medication, from just being really tired and overwhelmed. So again, like, sure, oftentimes it can come from trauma, but sometimes people will have DPDR and then they kind of go looking for trauma.
Exactly.
Right? Like, something must have happened to me because every site I see says it's usually linked to trauma. But so it's kind of like a square is always a rectangle, but a rectangle isn't always a square. Like, we tend to always revert the wrong way. Like,
I love
okay,
that.
sure.
Yeah. No,
Sure,
I
like,
totally agree. Yeah.
like DPDR is something, right, that it's kind of like the walls come down and you're kind of separated from everything, really. Your alarm's basically like, fuck this. Everything seems dangerous, so we're going to disconnect her from everything just in case. Just in case, because everything out there is potentially dangerous. And then you feel just sort of disconnected. We do it the same way. I feel blank right now. Keep it simple. The problem is it's the fight of that feeling. So it's kind of like you're driving in a car. I haven't been able to do this video yet because it keeps raining when I'm on calls and then it doesn't rain anymore. But like, you don't stare at your windshield because there's a windshield. You look through your windshield. And when it rains, you see the raindrops, but you automatically know to look through the raindrops. They say, oh, there's raindrops. Go look at the raindrops. Oh my gosh, when are those raindrops going to go away? I feel like we look through it. So I tell people, feel weird. Feel, you know, and then we get like the depersonalization, like whose hands, who's moving these hands, right? And where am I? And that's a face, but whose face, right? Everything, like it feels disconnected, but it's actually the total opposite. You're so aware, you know, you're so in tune to that feeling, right? Everything with anxiety is a little bit upside down. So like this one person who was saying, I've got like these, I feel fake, like a fake body on this fake car. I said, okay, well, again, it's how you treat what you find. So you're going to take your fake ass body and stick it in your fake ass car and drive down the fake ass road and be like, yeah, it's a fake ass building. And I feel, I don't know who's moving these hands, but I guess I can do this with them. And, you know,
oh,
like,
man, I love using that. Oh my God.
It breaks like this idea of like, it's still there. I've meditated. Is it gone yet? And then you go looking for the glass. You look for it and you'll find it. So find it, but look through it because the goal is unimportance and irrelevance, not elimination. And then that stuff starts to fade. When you stop trying to get rid of it, it fades accidentally.
Michelle, you have a phenomenal way of explaining this. It is so well done. It's like an art. It feels like I'm like,
you know, talk about it like 8 hours a day.
That's awesome. You know, I always say with you know, for me, it was, look, just having a panic attack and not knowing what that was traumatic for me.
Sure.
So it's not like, you know, people think trauma is like this thing where you come back from war or something like that. It's always perceived.
Right.
You know, and that's what it was like. Literally, it was just like I had a panic attack. I didn't know what it was. It was almost too intense to be a panic attack. And then I was like, oh God, I can never run away from this. And then the derealization.
It's the fear that seals the memory. It's not necessarily the situation, but again, your body sends you fear to help you fight danger.
Right.
And fear is a good memory sealer. It's like glue. So like, you know, thousands of years ago, if I was at like a watering hole, right, getting water, surviving, right, and a stampede of animals came by, my body would send me fear to put me in a heightened state to get me the hell out of there. So the next time I see a watering hole that kind of reminds me of that one, right, my body's going to go, wait a second, wait, something happened, something that reminds us of danger. There was danger last time because she fought and fled, right? So here's some fear just in case. So like fear is what seals the memory. Yeah. So like whether it's fear from a panic attack or fear from that you were in actual danger, your body still act, you know, as long as you were acting as if there was danger, your body's going to remember that for the next time, so that if something similar arises, it just says, Shaan, danger, zap, and then you get to choose, right? So there's your alert, and then there's your response to that alert. So guys, if your alarm rings, let it ring. It's your protector. It's doing its job. It's going, ding, Michelle, take a look at this. Look at it. Is it a murderer? If it is, fight or flight, right? Get rid of it. But if it's a thought, a physical sensation, a feeling, notice it. It's alerting you to the wrong thing. It's alerting you to discomfort. And then it's based on how you treat what it shows you, of like whether you continue that loop of ring, look, zap, ring, look, zap, fight, right? So it's, oh yeah, that's okay. That's just a thought. I'm scared, but I don't have to fight scared. I fight danger, not fear. Fear helps me fight danger, and that's where we get stuck in the loop.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You say it so well. I'm like listening. I'm like part of the audience now. I'm just, I was looking at some of the questions. And by the way, like I say, guys, for the people that just joined on, you just have to follow Michelle. So if you like my content, Michelle has a really well articulate way of really sharing and showcasing what anxiety recovery is all about. A lot of the questions I already saw, and we briefly mentioned on it, is how do I deal with OCD? How do I deal with generalized anxiety? One of the things we focus on, and I'm sure you guys do the same, which is we, rather than using these different labels that are used for more professionals, to throw it under the anxiety umbrella. How do you guys go about it? I mean, assuming, you know, everyone's gotten things ruled out, how do you guys approach it?
Right. Same way. It's the same way. It's like we're trying to cram this model into the medical model. And it's like, I have this thing. How do I deal with this thing? As if like I have strep throat and you get like medication for this strep throat and every day it gets better and better and better and better till it's gone. Right? It doesn't work like this. The world of mental health, it works from the opposite direction. It's more like these labels are only here to kind of group certain symptoms together to say, oh, if you're dealing with all this stuff, and that's why I always have this. All of anxiety is basically summed up in this sort of thing, right? So my little detailed guy, who my dog ate the first 4 versions of this thing already, I'm on to version number 5. We're all fighting some form of thoughts, sensations, feelings. I put what ifs and memories here. They're still thoughts, but people think they're different. But memories are you right now thinking of the past, and what ifs are you right now thinking of an imagination of something that could happen in the future. But, you know, so anything with anxiety, generalized anxiety, it's the state of constant unease, like a low level physical discomfort, maybe some worrying in the background, right? Thoughts, obsessive thoughts. There's no obsessive thoughts. There's thoughts that we then obsess about, right? How you treat thoughts. And that's why, like, I couldn't be any more simple. The guy doesn't even have elbows, right? So I don't care what it's called. I don't really care about the labels, really. But this is not the problem. This is what people are trying to get rid of, which creates the problem. So, like, this is the problem. So anxiety lives here in how we treat thoughts and how we treat sensations, how we treat feelings. And we're fighting what ifs as if they're happening now. And we're sending this mixed message to our alarm that danger right now, even though I'm thinking of danger. Memories, PTSD linked with trauma and things like that. Not to oversimplify trauma at all, but to just simplify it. It's me right now remembering when there was danger. So if I'm having these memories and my alarm is sending me fear, and I'm acting as if I'm in danger right now, I'm still sending this message of danger right now. So anything that reminds me of those things, if I avoid them, treating it as dangerous. So it's the same approach, whether it's PTSD, dealing with memories, actual trauma, panic disorder, right? So panic attack is more like, instead of your kid going, I don't want to go home, I don't want to go home, the guy go home, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, up a notch, up 1,000 notches.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, you know, it's crazy. You know, one of the things I've been seeing, especially on Instagram is like a weird thing for me because I like it, but at the same time, it's not enough for me to showcase sometimes what I want to share.
I still can't figure it out. I'm like, where all these stories go?
You know, and I saw this post by an anxiety, you know, person, influencer, whatever you want to call him or her. I don't even remember who it was, but you know, they came up with birthday anxiety. What birthday anxiety feels like, and it's just like we're just making these
everything. Everything anxiety.
They just break it down smaller and smaller. And I'm at this point. I'm like, okay, but which birthday now? Like, is that what we're gonna do? Like, are we really gonna break it down into smaller and smaller categories?
And I'm telling you, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. You know why? Because it's just the fight of blank and the fight of blank. It's the fight. And again, another video I haven't made yet. Yeah. You ever look up phobias? There's like a freaking 1,000 of them.
I get DMs about, hey, Shaan, have you ever dealt with this specific phobia?
Yeah, I know.
I don't even know what that is now. Like, I don't even know what that
quickly
is.
scrolling, like, Michelle, you're the expert. Do you know I'm dealing with blah, blah, blah phobia? I'm like,
what? Yeah. I'm like that too. They're coming up with one every day, I feel like. There's like cyberchondria now. There's not even hypochondria. There's cyberchondria.
There's everything. And again, it doesn't matter. I should have written them down before this call. I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but there's like blah, blah, blah phobia. It's the fear of the color yellow. And blah, blah, blah phobia is the fear of the color purple. Do you think I'm going to do anything different with the yellow person than I'm going to do with the purple person? Like we've just labeled the wrong thing as danger. For whatever reason, yellow, like my body sends me fear when there's yellow. Fear doesn't come from yellow. Fear comes from my body misinterpreting danger. So whether it's thunderstorms or hurricanes or tornadoes, there's no different weather treatment. It's all about how I react, how I treat whatever it is that my body's sending me fear for. So all those phobias can kind of be summed up with the same exact approach.
Yeah. It's so refreshing to hear this. Because I feel like it's such a lonely space sometimes for like me, you know, sharing this stuff.
It is. We're like swimming against the current, because like usually by the time people find us, they've dropped thousands, 10,000, right? I had somebody dropped $100,000 on all these like programs. And it's always, they always like label themselves like top renowned, world renowned expert of. I'm like, oh, let me guess, he's the world renowned expert of. They're like, oh, do you know him? I'm like, no, but that's what everybody calls themselves. And it's like, and then they end up here, or like a place where it's like different, and it's like, oh, this, right? I've tried to get rid of it and do all these things and fight. And that usually what happens is by the time people find me, they are exhausted, because it's like, I'm doing all these programs, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm meditating, I'm going to therapy, and it's not working. So, and I'm exhausted, right? I'm exhausted, and then I'm frustrated, right? Because, well, everybody else is getting better. This one went to a therapist and she's fine, I'm not fine. So exhaustion, frustration, and then usually comes, because all my doers, it comes usually with the sense of like, I must be broken, right? There must be something inherently, whoa, look at all those hearts pop up.
Yeah, right.
There must be something wrong with me, because I can't fix this, right? Maybe it's not just anxiety. Maybe it's something else. Maybe I need another workup, I need another this. And it's like,
missing key.
No, you're going at it, I just got to bring you 3 degrees to the right. Yeah.
I literally had a call today right before this one, and I literally used the same example. I'm like, you're looking here when it's here. I'm just trying to shift you, and it happens on its own. Oh, man. I absolutely this is probably one of my most favorite lives I've ever done.
This is great. We're like twins. I can't even tell us apart.
and you know what's amazing? I feel like I came up with, you know, a lot of it was, you know, from like, you know, people that, you know, Claire Weeks, Paul David. I hadn't found Dare at the time. I don't know why. I don't know if the Dare response came out when I'd gone through it, but like, it's so nice that like you've came up with your own conclusions, and it's the same thing. And we found,
you know, when I first started reading, like, some people were telling me for years, oh, did you read Paul David? Did you read that book? I'm like, no, I've just been I don't have to read anything else, right? So then I read his book, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So this is a funny story. I was reading it, I was sitting next to my husband, and I'm like, starting to get mad. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, this guy, he's saying what I'm saying, but like, I didn't take it from him. Did he take it from me? Like, that's my, and then after reading his book, and then like, you know, like, and I had read Claire Weeks, and then I see you, and I'm like, you know, I think once you just get it, you kind of have no choice but to get the same examples and the same analogies, because it's this idea of learning how to do nothing. And it's after I got past this idea of like, oh my gosh, did I take that from him? Did you take that from me? Is this like, oh no, it's kind of like this universal concept that once you get it, you're like, oh,
yeah,
leave it all alone. Learning how, like, really all of this is learning how to say, oh, fucking well.
Yeah.
That's Dare in a nutshell. Learning how to say, oh, well.
I think what it is that it's almost like we concluded based on our own experience, but the conclusions were all the same, but we just experienced it in our own way. I always say there's knowledge and then there's knowing. And so I guess we just know, and then we hear somebody else, and it's like, it was such a personal experience. And that's how I can tell very quickly too, if like somebody's like, okay, no, this person's gone through it, or like, this person hasn't gone through it.
Yeah, I know. I saw something you posted, and it was like, how to something, and I'm like, and I was thinking I was going to see something like how to get rid of this once and for all. Like, you open this up. And it was the total opposite. I'm like, oh,
It's a little clickbaity, you know, it's just like, hey, yeah, but you know, that's the thing, right? It's like this is how you get rid of it. Don't try to fix it. We even say that in the mentorship. People are like, I'm ready to recover. I'm ready to do it. And then they hop in. I'm like, okay, let go of recovery. Let it go. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Your job is just to sit with this. And they're like, but, and it's like, you could tell their like heads are like, what is happening?
Right. I just sent this woman money. She just told me to do nothing. What do you mean? I just sent her all this money. What do you mean do nothing? Like, yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
But
it's the hardest thing to do though, right? It's the hardest thing to do. The
hardest thing to do. Absolutely. Because your body is in due action and you have to notice it and go, nope. Because it's like, it feels danger, right? You have to show your alarm that there's no danger. And you do that by your actions and your behaviors. So if you're going to do something, go towards the thing that it's setting you fear for, right? To show, like, I would never tell anybody to go towards danger. I will never tell you, oh, go be a little bit more on fire so you could practice like accepting and allowing. Always fight or flee that stuff. But if it's, my body's setting me fear because of that train, you kind of have to look at this little protector and go, oh, that thing? You think that thing's dangerous? It's actually not. So I'm going to bring you with me. You can keep setting me fear while I go on that train. I have to show you that there's no danger. Don't act, guys, don't try and act fearless. Just act as if there's not danger. That's the acting, that's the doing, where you get to live your life without this. If danger, you're going to be hanging on or you're going to be waiting for it to stop. Act as if danger means I can feel fear. Fear is not danger either. So that's kind of like a...
Yeah. No, I understood that in so many layers. You were like, because there's a differentiation between being fearless and danger. And I'm like, that's it. She's right. Because it's like, it's not about fear. People feel like they shouldn't feel scared.
Right,
no.
Right, wrong. I mean, right and wrong, right.
Right, no, yeah. And so, but like you making that distinction, that's why I think for us, words are so important. Like,
they are.
Like, no, you're not fear, you're not scared, you're just, you're responding in fear. There's a difference. There's thinking and then there's thoughts.
But I'm still afraid, I'm still stuck in the fear of fear. And I like that line, right? Yeah, the only thing to fear is fear, but we're stuck in the fear of fear because of the fight of fear. Right? So your body will keep helping you fight whatever it is you're fighting. We are just fighting the part of us that helps us fight. Yeah. So if you're fighting fear, your body's going to send you more fear to fight the last batch of fear, right? Until you stop fighting first. People want to feel first and then stop fighting. Guys, totally backwards. It's backwards. Like, you're not going to feel better for, I just get this under control. I just feel a little bit better. I feel a bit better. Then I'll go out. Nope. I'm going to go out with this feel and I'm going to bring it with me while I feel, to show that like the feel is unimportant. So you have to change the actions first. The feelings follow.
I always say not even just the feelings. I say the confidence comes after. The joy comes after too. Yes. People want to feel like enjoying it before doing it first. And it's like, no, just do it. Joy will follow it. It follows the action.
Right. You cannot have a feeling as a goal. Exactly. You can't go out to do something because this should make me happy, because then you're not going to be here. You're going to be here going, am I happy? Am I happy? Is this working? Oh shit, this is not making me happy. What's the point of doing this? Better sit home and read more books and try and be more happy and listen to more audios. Like, no. Once you get it in your brain, that's this much of the puzzle. The rest of the puzzle is I have to take it from my brain and teach it to my body. So I have to go out and show myself that it's okay you don't have to have a feeling as a goal. Feelings are things that just pop up. You'll notice them after you're engaged in something.
I love it. I thought this was so much fun.
This was fun. I like this.
Yeah,
I could do this all day.
Instagram, I think Instagram is going to cut it off after an hour. So I think we're getting pretty close to it. So I'm going to wrap it up, Michelle. I'm so glad we connected. And I mean, it's just awesome to see the work you've been doing. I point all my clients to the book. I think it's great, and I appreciate you doing the live. For everybody else, you gotta follow Michelle. It's like, in a way, it kind of makes me angry when I was going through it, because it was like, there was just nothing there. Like
I
I felt.
have this. Why did somebody just freaking tell me this?
Why did
Right?
somebody? And it was like, you know, the space has changed since even I've recovered, and like there's so many more resources, and it's like it's there, and it's like it's almost like there's no excuse now. You know, it's like, and so your page is, I think, one of the best probably on Instagram I've ever seen. So
Oh, thank you.
so everyone needs to follow, and Michelle, I really appreciate you hopping on.
This was great. Thank you. You know, I found you because somebody else was following you and then came to Dare. It's like, oh, do you know Bye Bye Panic? I'm like, oh, I don't. Let me go see, because if I want to make sure everybody's on the same page, and you absolutely are. So I think the more we put like a panel together of people that are sending the same message, it's like, oh no, it's not just Michelle. Like, we're all saying it, maybe little twists in little different ways, but whatever helps everybody get it. The whole goal is to get it. It's like the worst business model ever, right? Like,
Yeah, right. It's like you don't need us. That's the thing. That's why it's so
like
hard.
you really don't need me at all,
Yeah.
ever, really.
That's why I say
Don't
the end
ever
goal is not me. Yeah, I always say you shouldn't be a lifelong client of mine. I don't want to see you long term. We're not friends. We're not. I don't want you to follow my content forever. I want you to see it and be like, oh yeah, there's this guy that helped me like back in the day. Yeah, I don't know what he does now, you know, and like that's it. You know, like that's all I want it to be.
Yeah. I always say, this is a short-term relationship. I like you. You can call me to say hi, but you're not going to need me. You don't need me now, but sometimes it kind of helps, you know, fine-tune things and put it into context.
Awesome. Well, we'll wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for joining. Michelle, thanks again, okay?
Thank you. This was fun.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
I'll see you on Instagram. Bye.